Hey, how you doing there again, folks? Me and, of course, Brandon Wenzel. Come back at you. Another offering off my sampler platter. Yes, indeed, folks, sampler reviews. Here's videos I've been doing for a little while now. I'll go over there, try out food and drink items. I eat stuff, I drink stuff, and folks, I'm going to talk about stuff. I'm going to let you know all that you need to know about hopefully delicious stuff. That time I'm doing this, folks, I'm not going to lie. I really don't know what to think about this one that I'm going to be doing today. But we'll see. Anyway, it's a super simple format. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to try out food and or drink items for you. Whilst I'm doing so, I'm going to yammer on about it for a bit. Whilst I'm doing that, I'm inside the truck. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm wearing grody work clothes. Typically, when I'm inside the truck and I'm wearing grody work clothes, that means that I was on my way home from work. I found some shit to review for you. Not the case today. I actually picked these up, I'm going to say maybe like 2 weeks ago, something like that. I was out visiting a friend. I stopped off at a gas station that I had stopped off at just a couple weeks prior to that. And it turns out that they had a little international section over there. People running it were very nice. And I was like, all right, man, let's give it a go. So, what is it that I'm going to be reviewing? Why am I uncertain about how this whole thing is going to go? Well, folks, we're reviewing, boom, beer-flavored potato chips. Specifically from a Chinese company. It's a combination with Lay's and apparently a company called Helen's Beer in China. I guess it's a, craft beer brand? That's what, the thing that I saw online said. It was like, okay, I have never had Helen's Beer. I don't even think I've ever had a Chinese beer. I have not had, I've had some beers. People who watch my show might know I don't really do a lot in the way of the alcohol. Not saying I'm completely against it, I have a drink for New Year's. I have a drink for Halloween. Halloween's going to be coming up, actually. And I'll drink socially. But that's about as far as I go, really. I tried to get in the craft beer stuff a little bit, because, when I first started kind of, when I became sort of age where I could legally partake, I had a lot of people who were like, you can't go buy, the Budweiser or this or that, or you gotta do the craft beer stuff. So I went over there and I would go to occasional liquor stores and pick out some craft beers. And what I found was that although, yes, they were better than, Budweiser and Miller and all that shit, still didn't really care for them all that much. It's just not a thing that I'm that into. But maybe in potato chip form? Let's give it a go. Open up the bag. Whoa! Chinese packaging. Oh. Well, that's an interesting smell that I didn't expect to smell from potato chips. Okay. Now, is it a beer smell? Kind of a little bit, yes, actually. Alright. Well, I will say right off the bat, they don't look like they look on the thing. That looks like a... These look very anemic. I'm kind of surprised. They look budgety. You know what? We'll do it proper. We'll do a bigger one. Let's give it a go. Wow. That did a lot of things, and I don't know that I liked any of them. Okay. Alright, before I do anything else, I just want to bring this up, because I bring it up whenever I review chips and stuff. Bag of chips, right? Next to my head, pretty close to the size of my head. Excuse me. How many actual chips do you get? That's how many. Significantly smaller than the size of my big-ass head. If nothing else, I guess it's good to know that we're not just getting screwed in America. Chip companies are screwing everybody globally. Because you really are paying for just a shitload of air and a small-ass amount of chips. And especially considering that these are kind of a specialty flavor. And on top of that, I mean, I got them from, again, a gas station, but, like, you still have to pay a bit of an upcharge on that stuff because, you know, it had to be imported, and so they're, of course, going to charge more for it. Now, getting away from that nonsense, flavor-wise, it is a whole lot of things, and I do not know that I particularly care for any of them. So, going into it initially, it has, like, almost a fruity aspect, which right off the bat was weird, because it's like, I mean, I've had, like, kind of fruity, you know, potato chips and stuff like that, but I wasn't expecting it from this. I'm guessing that was probably more like the malt, because I know, like, the hops are, it's kind of like the more bitter aspect of it. So I'm guessing that's supposed to be like the malt kind of flavor. But again, it has like a weird sort of fruity flavor to it. And it really jumps out at you, like, as soon as it hits your tongue, you can taste it. And then kind of just chills. Initially, I was like, okay, these are weird but fine. But then, that flavor dies down, and you get what I'm assuming is supposed to be the hops flavor. Which, as you might have noticed, doesn't sit very well with my particular palate. Mind you, I'm not, like, coughing because, like, I like, it tastes so bad I, you know, feel like I have to retch. That's not the case. It's just that when, like, that sort of bitterness kind of hits the back of my throat, it, like, almost tickles my throat, and that's why I'm coughing. These are very weird. I do not know how much they taste like Helen's beer. I don't know. I can only go off of my personal beer experiences. It tastes fruitier than any beer that I've ever had. And they're interesting, if nothing else. If it was just the fruitiness, I might have been able to go with them. But I do want to go over there and discuss one other thing, because I mentioned it. I did bring up the fact that these seem somewhat anemic. And in terms of potato chip flavor, although they have a lot of flavor, the actual potato aspect of it does feel anemic. Like, it doesn't feel, like, these do not feel like particularly good potato chips. They have a lot of flavor on them, which helps kind of mask it to a certain extent. But these do not taste like proper Lay's chips, to me. Especially not one of the ones where, again, they're doing like a specialty flavor. Usually they tend to put a little extra pizzazz on them. But with these, it seems like they really just kind of what the fuck ever with the chips, and then we're like, just let the flavor do the talking. Which, you know, it is what it is. They are weird and they are interesting. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Ugh. I do not like that bitterness. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I would rather review something on this show that I don't particularly care for, that is at least interesting, than something that I do kind of like, but is just very dull. Because then there's really, not only is it just not, I mean, I don't know how entertaining what I do is for anybody, but there's less of an entertainment factor. And then on top of that, even just for me personally, it's like, yeah, obviously I want to try things that I enjoy, but I also want to try things that are new and interesting. That's a big part of why I do the show. These classify under that. I've never had chips quite like these, and I've had a lot of weird fucking potato chip flavors. Now, all that said, 2 questions have to be asked. Would I get them again? Would I recommend them? No, and boy oh boy does it depend on who you are. I would definitely not get these again. These are just, they're too weird. You know what, that's not fair. That's not fair. The weirdness isn't the problem. I can go with the weirdness to a certain extent. But fundamentally, as a potato chip, I don't think they're great potato chips. In terms of the flavor that it's providing, well, the flavor itself is actually fairly dominant, and I have to give them credit for that. And I do have to give them a certain amount of credit for being sort of along the lines of what it's supposed to taste like. I think. Again, I've never had Helen's beer before. But I was able to more or less suss out a beer aspect. I don't know if that's where I would have gone with immediately if I didn't know, but it's one of those things where if somebody told me if I didn't know beforehand, I'd be like, oh, okay, fair enough. I can see it. But for me and my personal palate, again, the fruity aspect of it, the malt aspect of it, I could almost give it. But even that is just, it's not particularly to my speed, and again, just the not greatness of the potato chip. Going beyond that, though, as soon as it gets to that bitter aspect, I tap, man. That's a big part of the reason why I'm not that really into beers. I don't like bitter stuff, it's not a great thing. If you work it the right way, contrasting flavors, what have you, but, yeah, no for me on these. Now, if I'm recommending them, these are one of those things where I would recommend you try them. If you run into them, if you're fortunate enough, like me, where you run out into them in the wild, I would definitely say give these a shot. Because if nothing else, they are interesting and they will prompt a story. These are something that you could go over there, bring a bag to your group of friends and be like, try this. And I think that they would all be, I don't know how much they're going to like them, but at the very least, I think it'll be an interesting, flavor situation. But beyond that, as just chips by themselves, hard for me to go over there and recommend them, but at the same time, I'm sure that they're for somebody. Definitely not me. Anyway, 5 things before I get out of here. Have yourself a great rest of your day. Spectacular the rest of the week. Monumental rest of the month. Spanish rest of your folks. You can go over there, have yourselves a truly not beer-flavored chips-tastic rest of your life. I mean, again, I'm sure for somebody it works, but to be fair, maybe they taste perfectly like Helen's beer. Should I review some Helen's beer? Should I look it up? I don't know. I really don't know how well that would go in terms of acquiring it. I'd have to look around, man. That would be something. Maybe it would be easy. I don't know. I don't really look for alcohol, so maybe I'll review some Helen's beer. We'll see. Anyway, where was I going with that? Final 2 things. Number 1, try to bring some positivity in the world. It's not as possible. It is, however, always appreciated. But what do you do if you can't do all the time? I know I can't do all the time. You're just going to do, folks. You're going to try not to be an asshole. Folks, it's not always the easiest thing in the world to not be an asshole, especially when you got weird beer-flavored potato chips that just exist and are weird. And they make you question everything that you thought you knew about reality. But it's important when we run into situations in our life that are stressful, frustrating, etc. Take a step back, try to mitigate the level of assholeness in our lives, hopefully do better for ourselves and for those around us. Very final thing, folks, do the thing. Whatever the thing is for you, that's what I want you to go out and do. Folks, maybe you're going to go over there. Maybe the beer-flavored chips aren't enough for you. Maybe you have to go over there and be like, no! What we will do is we will go over there because we are the proud people of Russia, I guess. And let's make some vodka-flavored potato chips. In my head, that sounded absurd, and then once I said it, I was like, I'm fairly certain that somebody's already made that happen. Although it would be interesting, because, vodka by itself, and I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to rag on vodka, but, it doesn't have, a hugely distinct flavor. It's just very alcohol, That's why I think it works so well, imparting flavor onto it. But again, I'm sure that there's people who'd be like, blah, 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 blah. I'd be like, fucking man, I ain't got nothing on that, okay? The only vodka that I ever drink, and is 100% true, I go over there, in my house, I have a bottle of the shittiest, highest proof vodka that I could buy. I want it to be cheap, and I want it to have a very high alcohol content. Why? Because sometimes my allergies kick up really bad, and it just starts draining into my throat, all the congestion and everything, and it is horrendous. And I figured out that if I go over there, and I take a quick shot, and I kind of hold it in my throat for a second, I will hack out a lot of stuff that was just lingering in there. That is the only reason why I ever engage in vodka. But no offense to vodka drinkers or anything. Do your thing. Anyway, I've yammered on for way too long. Something. Well, there's already Guinness potato chips. I think I might have even reviewed them. Bye.